Welcome back to Pictish Shorts, the usually short Pictish podcast from the Pictish Art Society. We're up to episode 12 today, and our guest is Professor Katherine Forsyth of the University of Glasgow. Now, Katherine has made an enormous contribution to Pictish studies in her career. She also sits on the National Committee for Carved Stones in Scotland, writes and lectures on epigraphy and early medieval board games, and has also been instrumental in teaching and encouraging many early medieval scholars far beyond their university courses. Katherine, welcome. Please tell us a little bit about what you're working on now.
Well, I've just finished this OM project that we got funding to make 3D models of OM inscriptions. And so I've got a great mass of material to work through. So that's going to keep me busy for a long time. But I'm also just supervising my fantastic postgrads who are, you've heard many of them in the
Yes.
in the Pictish Art Society lecture series. And you know how exciting it is to be in Pictish studies at the moment.
We do. And you've released an awful lot of scholars into the wild over the years. And every time I speak to any of them, they're always very, very positive about your contribution to their careers. So,
very kind.
Yes, great. Now let's crack on then straight into these questions. First question: what first got you interested in the Picts?
Well, my earliest memory of being interested in the Picts was in S1 in Banchory Academy. I'm sitting there, aged 11, and my history teacher, Mr. Finney, showed us a slide. And I know I subsequently knew that he must have had the Historic Scotland pack of 6 slides of Scottish prehistory, because he showed us a slide of the Picardy stone. And that is just really imprinted on my brain. And that must have been something that kind of focused my interest in the Picts. So that's where it starts.
Brilliant.
And then when I got to 6th year, I wanted to do history. So that would be like advanced higher. It was called Certificate of 6-Year Studies, but I wanted to do history. And I was the only one. And I didn't want to do Hitler, because everybody did Hitler every year, Weimar Germany and the rise to war. And I said, no, I want to do the Picts. They wrote to the librarian, the central librarian, and they got a big box of books. And I just sat and worked through all of that for my 6-year studies. And that was my entry into Pictish studies. It was great.
What was your local stone? Often, when we ask this question of people who come from, say, America and things, it's always intriguing as to how the Picts sort of grabbed them. But so often for us, people who grew up, particularly in the Northeast, there's a stone, isn't there? Which one was your local?
Well, the thing was, in those days, I just thought Pictish meant having Pictish symbols on, and there weren't many on D side. And it was only much later that I began to appreciate that there are other kinds of Pictish stones. And there are crosses, early crosses that are in the churchyard, built into the old church building in the churchyard in Banchory. There are symbol stones, but they're just slightly further up and down the valley.
Okay, great. Okay, on to our next question, which is, what do you find most fascinating about the Picts now?
I feel we're really in a bit of a boom era, because there's so much being discovered and so many things are becoming clear. The thing that I find so surprising is that there's so much evidence there. It's that we didn't really understand it, or we couldn't recognize it. But now that we know what we know, we can go and look, and we can see evidence for the Picts in so many ways. And I find that really exciting.
Yeah, Alistair Heather on a previous podcast said that he described it quite well. He said when he grew up, there was this sort of mystery, and that was very much propagated and depicted in popular culture and things. And now we've got so much more knowledge about how they were living and where they were living. And he said, I prefer these Picts. And I thought, well, I do too.
What the mysterious ones or the not mysterious ones?
The less mysterious ones that we know more about.
Yes, exactly. Yes, I'd rather have fascinating than mysterious.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's fantastic. Okay, next one. This is a tricky one. What's your favourite stone or artefact? You can cheat a wee bit if there's 2.
This is terrible. I'm sure this is like asking a parent to choose between their children.
It is.
A lot of them it's about who I was with when I was visiting them, or what the weather was like on the. I remember going on various Pictish art society trips, and going to the Keeler Stone or something, and everybody being there, and the weather was glorious, and we were looking across the whole of the Strath, and it was a magical moment, but the actual monument itself, I'm not, so I don't know. I really like the cross at Kinord, Loch Kinord, which is quite close. It's on D side, back from D side, and it's one of these ones that it's almost in situ, and it's not a churchyard or whatever. It seems to have been on the route onto the Crannog in the loch there. It just some little bit of magic about it.
It's funny you mentioned the Keeler Stone because I'd
Mm.
been to the Keeler Stone before and I didn't much like it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I had a quick look at it and drove on. But when we stood there at the Pictish Art Society field trip,
Yeah.
discussing whether it was whether it was a wolf or a badger
Mm.
or some other quadruped, it was kind of special.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And looking out on that landscape, I think on the same field trip, we went from Meigle through the pass down into Strathmartin.
That's right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Norman Atkinson's really good at explaining, the landscape and even talking about Meigle and Belmont
Hmm.
estate and then up.
Yeah.
And it just makes you think in three dimensions rather
Yeah.
than just
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
kind of staring at the stone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that is because
Yeah.
we were looking back at Ailith, weren't we? We're looking at
Yeah.
from Keeler,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's now a much more interesting stone to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And I think it is a rudimentary wolf, but who knows? Um, okay,
There's
now
also
next question. No, go
sorry,
on.
can I just say that there's all sorts of stones which you become familiar from looking at them, in my day at ECMS, and that was all that you knew. And
Right.
then you actually go and you see them and you say, it's so much better than it looks from the book, you know.
Yes. Yes, I love the wee surprises as well, like how small the wolf is from Ardross. When you've been looking at pictures in the book, how big the Boolean man is.
Yes, yeah, yeah,
Because you
yeah,
can't tell
yeah,
from
mhm, yeah,
the size of these
yeah,
things. So, yeah, great.
absolutely.
Okay,
Mhm.
next question. If someone could only visit one site or museum, it's another stinker, isn't it? Which one would you visit? And you can blame Fiona Campbell House for this one.
Well, I mean, again, very hard, but I really like the Meigle Museum, and I like it because it's just the stones and the light, because the light comes in the windows and the light moves around. So it's almost like they're outside and you can see the shadows emerging and fading away. And also, I have a particular connection there because when I was an undergraduate, I did my dissertation on Meigle and I was supervised by Isabel Henderson, and it was the most wonderful experience. And I went to do fieldwork, and she advised me to always travel with a steel-tipped umbrella and to go and have a route around. So I thought, okay, Isabel says to do this. I will, I want to be like Isabel. I will. will do this. So I got a steel-tipped umbrella and I went and I went into the churchyard. I literally was 2 steps in the front door and I poked and I found a stone.
No.
And I think it's Meigle 33 or something. It's on display in the
Good
museum.
grief.
And I thought, "Whoa, this is great." Anyway, but I've never found anything since. So that was my beginner's luck.
That's
So
incredible.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
this is my tip. Travel with a steel tipped
I always carry a torch, but not, not the umbrella. Oh, I love it. When I was asked this question, I chose the whole landscape between Glams and Meigle.
Yeah, yeah,
As a trip to make from sort of
yeah,
very churchy Glams to very
yeah.
royal Meigle and
Yes.
Nevy and things along the way.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Just
yeah, yeah.
to do that trip. But when I go to Meigle, I always go and look at the architectural fragments and things. I think they're
Yes, yeah, yeah,
fascinating
yeah,
to
yeah, yeah, yeah,
imagine
yeah,
what
yeah.
was
No,
there.
it's amazing. There's so much there. No, it's great.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And again, visiting it with PAS people and, Victoria Whitworth and
Yes, yes, of
people with
course.
great
Yeah.
ideas about stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. But
it's been a very special place for me too.
it's the site that keeps on giving, because
Yeah,
that's
I pop in there every time I drive past. I just
yeah.
pop in for 5 minutes to keep the visitor numbers up for HES. Don't close it. I notice it's not open on Saturdays this year, which is a bit strange. I mean, who would ever want to visit a museum on a Saturday? It's crazy.
Let's please not get onto the topic of opening hours.
Yeah, let's not get onto the topic of HES at all. Right. Well, this brings us to the last question, which is which lost stone or artifact? This was my question because
It
I
was it
find the
was
lost stuff just fascinating.
it was really upsetting to think about this, and you're imagining all the ones that and I'm thinking, "Oh, well," because Hector Boyce, who's writing in 1520s, he has this description of a stone, a great stone with a goddess in a cart, and you think, "Oh, that must have been amazing," and it must have been, as big as the great Meigle crosses and, and that's just gone, you know, and you just think how much that would change our perceptions of it.
Yeah.
I've also, like, I've written about the Book of Deer, and I'm worried away about this cross that was there, and was it in relief, or was it sunk in, or what, you know, what was it? What did it look like? That would have been fantastic to see that one. And then all these inscriptions that I've spent so long trying to work at, and they're just so fragmentary. You know, the inscription on the cross from Auchenblay, Forden Cross at Auchenblay, where we've only got the bottom part of the panel with the bottom of the letters. I mean, how magic would that be to have the whole panel?
Yes.
But actually, I think what I would really like, if I'm just allowed one, it would be to have the big, long Ogham inscriptions from the Brodie Cross in mint condition.
Wow.
I feel that would give us a good start off to read them, because that's the longest inscription that we have in Ogham, and it's just so beat up we can hardly read it. So
Yeah.
that would be my request, please.
Great choice, yes. And I also love rooting about for stuff that's lost, and when you get to the site, you realise it's not. You know,
Yes, yeah.
example like up at Roscoby Church, rather.
Mm-hmm.
There's a stone that was described as being, you know, 5 foot tall, and it's where they held the market and things, and
Right.
it's location unknown. But then you look down the side of the church, and there's a 5 foot stone that's been made into a font.
Yeah.
Sort of font, you know, taken out of it. And there's a couple of stones at Invergowrie as well that can be found. You know, they're described as lost, and then you go into the woods, and there it is. It's a fence post, and it matches There's a lot of that stuff around, eh? But don't you think that's one of the best things about Scotland, that you can still root around and find stuff? You know, stuff that's supposedly lost and not.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Well, that's what I was saying about, like, all this evidence that is out there that we couldn't see. You know, we didn't have the skills to understand it, or we didn't have the maps or the databases or whatever. But now we can start putting the dots together and think, oh gosh, that's there.
yeah, and there's that great Pictish tradition of always making sure the bit that would explain it all is missing.
Yes.
Of course, it was most of the Pictish.
Easy for them.
It's also that one bit you think would explain the whole blooming thing, and it's not there. Yeah.
No.
Anyway, Catherine, listen, it's been absolutely brilliant catching up with you. Thanks very much for taking the time to join us today. I'm drinking from an original PAS mug. Yeah.
I've got one. I could have.
Yeah, we could have matched mugs with the Ogham on it.
Yes, thank you.
How accurate is this Ogham?
It's good. Is yeah,
good?
No, it's good. Well done to whoever put that up. No, it's good.
Done in the 1990s. My first job today is to redraw this for the back of a new T-shirt. So,
right, okay.
I may be on the phone later.
Okay, right, okay.
If I can't work it out.
I'll go and get mine out the cupboard. That's grand.
Brilliant. Catherine, thank you very much for joining us today. Much appreciated.
Bye.
Thank you.